So again, we're back to these trio ones, and it's a perfumer this week. I'm not going to go into loads and loads of detail about the perfumers. Like I said, there's loads of information out there. There's people who can give more detail and history and what have you better than I can, and these videos are supposed to be really short. But this week I've gone for Francis Kurkdijan. Yes, his name isn't Mason Francis, it's actually Francis Kurkdijan, and he is very famous. He's more famous now, I suppose, for having his own house, and he's moved to be the head guy at Dior. There is actually a Dior in here, but anyway, he's just famous, and he was very famous from being very young for creating one of the most iconic best-selling fragrances ever, which may come up. So yeah, I suppose this has to be one of my favourite Mr. Kurkdijan's fragrances, and that's Le Mal from Jean-Paul Gaultier. Now this isn't one of my absolute favourites of all time, but it's an iconic one and a big one in my life, as it is in lots of people of a similar age, isn't it really? This was the thing everybody wore who didn't wear dupe, and Le Mal is basically, it's like a modern fougere, I suppose is what it's described as, isn't it? It's got that lavender and the herbiness going through it, but it's got a lot of vanilla in it, and it's quite sweet, and it's playful, and it's fun. It's almost a little bubblegummy. And this you know, we had dupe that was very sweet, and then some more kind of came out, and then more kind of opening people's minds up to this nonsense of gendered fragrances. So it was quite sweet and androgynous. It's one that, again, like dupe, if you smell it you will recognise it instantly. It's in a lot of fragrances, that kind of profile nowadays. Some people say Amouage's Reflection Man, for example, smells a bit like it. You can see why people say that, although I'd say it goes in a different way. But it's this kind of sweet modern fougere. The fougères which somehow, I don't know how these got gendered to men with a great marketing push, because obviously green herbs and that kind of thing is associated with women, and of course in the old days fragrances weren't gendered. Why on earth would they be gendered? But anyway, we're not going to go into that. So that's Le Mal from Jean-Paul Gaultier that he perfumed. Next is actually a Dior fragrance who he's now moved to, and it's called Eau Noire. Now I'm not sure whether I smelt the reformulated version or the older version, but what I get from Eau Noire is it's obviously a green scent, but it's very licoricey, very anisey. It is green, and I think there'll be obviously a lot of patchouli and vetiver and things like that in it. Is the mint? There might be a little tiny bit of a hint of mint, but it's not a mint fragrance. Also, there's mint in Le Mal, isn't there? Sorry, I forgot that. Just we'll not add that in, but yeah. And it's but it's dark. It's a dark forest, and it's dense, and it's that kind of thing, you know. I like that kind of licoricey, anisey blackness in there, and it's, you know, it's kind of gothic, overgrown, mysterious forest kind of feel. It's very nice actually. It's one of them that doesn't get a lot of love. I do think it is backed. I think it was discontinued, then reformulated and brought back, thankfully. It's one I will get a bottle of, but it's like a dark, mysterious green fragrance. So that's Eau Noire from Dior. And finally, I've discovered more recently, I think I am more familiar with the extrait than the Eau de Parfum, weirdly. Maybe most of my samples I've got a house full of them from Oud Satin Mood. Now I have sniffed both, but well, for argument's sake, give a general idea. What I think with the extrait is the oud is a little more prominent, a little more kind of leathery, and it's like a vein running through it. whereas the Eau de Parfum is a little more powdery. But to me, everyone says it's kind of a rose fragrance, like a dark rose. To me, it's purple, and it's more about the violet, and the rose gives that powderiness in there. And it's oud, it's woods, it's musks, it's, you know, blah blah blah, like a lot of these fragrances. But it smells like a dark purple river running through a black forest of like dense trees and what have you, all surrounded with the violet flowers and their powdery nectar coming out, and that's what it is to me. It's just a beautiful dark, again kind of vampirical but purple, not red fragrance. So that's Oud Satin Mood. We all know it. It's quite massive as well, and it's overshadowed by the one that I personally don't love. But yeah, anyway, that's Oud Satin Mood from Maison Francis Kurkdijan, which is obviously his house. So what about your good selves? What are your favourites from Francis Kurkdijan? Is he one of your favourite perfumers? Do you admire Le Male as being quite an iconic one? What's your favourite from his own house, the MFK line? Are you more... He does a lot of different varieties actually. What I will say about him, his style to me is, there are some that were discontinued that I wish I'd smelt, but apart from Oud Cashmere Mood, which is a lot of fun, very different, Wet Sheep, his fragrance style seems to be safe. Don't get me wrong, they're very beautiful, they're very well done, elegant, classy fragrances, but on the whole quite safe. I mean, that's his style. That's what, also, you've got to sell these perfumes, haven't you? Or they end up discontinued, don't they? So I completely understand that. So what's your favourite from Mr. Kurkdijan? Right folks, thanks, bye.